Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy
Ho, ho,
holidays. Here
ho.
we are again, another year, another Christmas special for the three amigos here. That's what we call ourselves, right? Three amigos, right?
The Three
So we gotta get
Amigos.
that. We got to get that movie and start doing a little, thing else, and get going here and drink some tequila. So yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. This has been a crazy year, right, guys? I mean, here we are, end of 2025. So much stuff has gone on. We've done, a fair share of collector series. We've done some hot topics. We've done some breaking news this year. We had some breaking news this year, of course, and
We did.
it's been crazy, guys. But first off, how the hell are you guys?
Great. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas, Chuck. Happy holidays, everyone out there. Our favorite time of year, my favorite episode of the year, where I get to hang with my buddies and chat about what happened in the last 12 months. And then after this, shut her down for the year and just enjoy a few days of peace and quiet.
No peace and quiet
Merry
around here.
Christmas, everybody.
No, I don't have a little kid and I don't have to go flying anywhere. It's great.
Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm glad to see everybody again. It's the first time three of us have hung out for quite a while.
Since our ice cream show, we were just trying to figure that out. When's the last time that we got together?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a bit.
Yeah. So I guess first thing on topic here is what the hell's everyone been up to lately? Chuck?
Well, as most people can see, I'm no longer wearing these. Had a lot of eye surgeries this past year, so it's actually cut down on my time to work on the hobby and help with the checklisting and stuff because I've had a lot of eye issues. But I'm healing better now and ready to get back into the thick of things.
Yeah, I mean, you could practically see through walls now, I think, right?
Pardon?
You can practically see through walls now, I heard, right?
Oh, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think it slowed you down on the hobby end and the checklisting end at all. You've sent me everything that I've ever asked for and a few that I haven't, and you've been getting my packages up to me, which thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't thank you enough for how you helped me with all that stuff. So
A new package just was shipped out yesterday, so that should be the last one for
yeah,
the
and
year.
I'm optimistic that Canada Post will do its thing and get it to me. This is the Cactus Jack Chrome set. So I bought that off Ryan what? June maybe, May, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a
So
while. I've had it here for a while.
yeah, yeah, and I got some Tony stuff coming, and what else? There was any National Treasures in there? No.
Oh, you got a Kevin Gus set coming to you. You got
Yeah,
Waxateria coming to
yeah.
you.
Pete
You've got
stuff.
stuff from Tony's store and Phoenix Championship Wrestling, and oh,
So
you
that's
got all
gonna,
kinds of stuff
yeah,
coming
that's
to
gonna
you.
be
You're
a
going to have
big,
a nice Christmas
yeah.
package.
Merry Christmas to me, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Nothing
Well,
like buying your own gifts.
you guys want to get into what we do every year? We talk about sort of our wrestling card story of the year, then we talk about our favorite sets of the year, then we talk about our favorite wrestlers of the year, then we make our New Year's resolutions, and then we go away. So why don't we start with wrestling card story of the year? What do you guys figure was the dominant topic or the biggest news or the thing that sort of rocked your world in our hobby the most this year?
I'm going to be honest with you. For me, it's just uh, I'm having a hard time trying to remember anything past last week. Just to be honest with you, just so much has changed here for the store as far as moving things. I just don't have a whole. So I'm gonna let you guys lead that one.
Jack, what do you say?
Well, for me, I don't think there's really any bigger story than the David Peck auctions this year
Right.
for the 82 All Stars. I mean, that's put wrestling cards on the map. I mean, not like we weren't already, but that just kind of solidified us as a legitimate hobby, I do believe. And I mean, I remember everybody staying up late watching the ending of that auction, including me, and I'm not a late person. So, yeah, I think that was a pretty big story this year.
Well, for me, notwithstanding that we went back to a company called Tops
Oh yeah,
after a long hiatus, I'm with you, Chuck. For me, the passing of Hulk Hogan was the biggest story in wrestling and in our hobby as well. A lot of people say no, it wasn't, but yeah, it was because Hogan was doing well when the year started, but after his unfortunate passing, his stuff just shot up. And I'm going to do a quickie top 10 of the year, Tony, that we'll get up just before New Year's Eve. And guess who the top 10 are? Dude named Hulk Hogan. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. You want to talk about Topps Chrome or Finest, Panini, and all that stuff. I'll mention it in passing. Oh, by the way, way down here, you got stuff selling for $14,000, $15,000. That was the top for the new stuff. But if you want to talk about the stuff that's driving the high end, which is what my interest is in, it's been Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan. So and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I think that he's going to be the dominant force in our hobby and for wrestling cards for a while to come.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were other news, like lesser stories, like the PSA story recently, and then of course stuff went on in the indie world. Stuff went on with AEW, and we'll talk about that when we get to the sets. Insofar as Chrome sort of getting the license back, and like I said, when we talk about our favorite sets, I don't want to say it was a letdown, but it wasn't the event I was hoping it would be. Like when Panini came on board in 2022, they rocked our world and they set us on a new path to greatness. Panini did. Whereas Topps got the license back, and I have to say I haven't been thrilled about anything that they've put out. I bought it all, Chuck, as you know, if it's gone through you. But I didn't like the look of the Last Finest. Didn't think much of the Cactus Jack. Topps Chrome itself, they've done better versions of Topps Chrome many times over prior to this. This new bait business where you're spending the money that you're spending on for these ugly looking cartoons. It's a money driven hobby now, right? And a lot of things have changed in the distribution. Tony and I, we've talked about this several times about how
Mhm.
there's no just going to eBay on the secondary market and getting what you want. Now you've got to, if you want your Loomis, you better get in on a few breaks or else you're not getting first crack at the best Loomises that are out there.
Mhm.
But I guess it depends on your perspective. Me as a set collector, what matters to me in the hobby is different than what might matter to you, Tony, as a PC guy. But you know, I was underwhelmed by Topps this year, unfortunately, and we've got 2026 coming with some new brands that we haven't had before by them. So let's hope. And not everything has to be Chrome for God's sakes. We've talked about this, Tony. Why can't we just get back to the old school $30 a set? Because Panini had photogenic and they had impeccable, but they also had those NXT versions and the European versions where it was quite a range of product, right? So. Let's see what Topps has in store. But for me, the biggest story of the year was Hulk Hogan by a wide margin.
Absolutely. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, I'd agree. Hulk Hogan was probably the biggest story of the year. Both from the hobby itself and just from a pop culture type of news. But on the Topps front like that, yeah, being underwhelmed. Yeah, I get it. There's been some different. The Chrome stuff hasn't been as on par with some of the previous years of Chrome, but it has been nice to see Topps and with the power of Fanatics behind it, really pumping out that marketing to make it to a wider audience. So we have a lot of new people. While Panini brought a lot of new, fresh eyes to the hobby, the wrestling hobby, some of it probably more bad than good in the sense that bad that we had a lot of flippers getting into the hobby because of Panini and the shiny stuff and the golds and all that good thing. And Topps, with Fanatics behind it now is really a lot more commercials out there. We get to see it live on TV all the time on their PLEs on Raw. So I think there's a lot of more people being like, wow, there's wrestling cards, or wow, I'm back into the cards. And I see it here in the store. In the store a lot, we get a lot of people who are like, my kid's into wrestling cards now. Didn't even know they existed. That wrestling cards existed. Or you get people who are coming in here just because they're excited about it because they saw a commercial about it on TV. So the marketing is working because
the exposure has been great. It's just the actual follow-up of the product.
You're going to have people like yourself, me, Chuck, and some of us who've been in the hobby for a long, long time collecting. Obviously, we're going to have our favorites of what designs we like over the years, and so we're kind of a little, more critical in that sense, like that. But by and large, people come in here and they're like, "I love that Topps Chrome. That's beautiful stuff. I got to have that stuff. Do you have any Chrome stuff?" I swear to God, it's like people come in here asking for their crack. They're like, where do I get my fix, man? I got to open a pack. And it's exciting to see that people are into it. This holiday season, which are typically, surprisingly for me, slower time of the year. My business usually picks up in January, February. Has been very strong this year with people buying packs as stocking stuffers, just because they don't care. It's $50 a pack for Topps Chrome Hobby. But on the flip side, right next to it, I will keep blaster packs, of Panini 2022 Prism because it's so much cheaper, and they end up buying that instead. So the interest is there, and I think the marketing has really helped out a lot with our hobby. So we're having a lot more collectors out there, and so. But as far as Topps and what they put out, yeah, nothing really jumps out at me going, I love this set, so much. Like nothing they put out this year for me personally is ever going to make my top 10 of beautiful card sets of all time kind of
Yeah,
thing.
same.
It's not quite.
Same. And again, the exposure has been wonderful. I remember following you around at the National where you were buying as much chrome as you can get your hand on and sitting in the hotel and you're figuring out with your calculator and your Visa limit how much you
Yep.
can go and buy the next day. And
Yep.
I'm like, well, that's great. That's you're here for that purpose and it's happening. And you've sold that stuff. So, it's
I'm
not
still
that
sitting on some stuff. Like I finally, I was planning on just packing everything out completely. But you say, you know what? Screw it. I threw some boxes in there. It's like that. I got a box of finest. I got a box of 2020, 2021, 2025 chrome in there. I've got a box of AAA loot. I got a box in there to see how that does.
Yeah.
But I was doing double duty at the National this year, which is like you said, a lot of what you just said, looking for Topps Chrome because I needed that stuff. People were asking for it. But then I'm also a Loomis collector, and I've got you're looking for some Loomis stuff for me. I got Ryan looking for some Loomis stuff for me, which was nice. And it's just I'm kind of walking both, trying to do that. And it's exciting and exhausting at the same time.
Yeah, only thing I remember about the National is those Trump. You remember those Trump cards we found?
Oh yeah.
That had Trump and Pence and Hulk Hogan, and at first we weren't sure what they were. Were they customs? Were they whatever they were? But um, I couldn't find any national treasures. And I mean, on trade nights, there was a lot of you
I think that
remember,
was super disappointing.
yeah, like you remember how last year we had that crazy last 4 months of 2024 where Panini put out three count, they put out finest, they put
Like 3 or 4 sets in like 3 months.
flawless, I should say. And what was the other one? There was just like so many sets that all came at once, and the flawless set was considered one of the greatest sets that they ever put out because it was their highest end one. And there was a lot of that stuff kicking around at the National, but I don't know. That stuff didn't rock my world. Like a lot of people, they hold that as the sort of standard bearer as to what wrestling cards are or should be, and it's like, nah, not for me. I mean, we had this talk, and we're going to do a hot topic on this. Like there's a lot of people that talk about how great Panini was and Topps, but if you ask me, the greatest era in wrestling cards ever was Fleer, and some
Same.
people discount that as being a junk wax era where they didn't do nothing. Well, these people don't have a clue as to how
Nope.
important those sets were to open the doors for everything else that followed in so many other different aspects of the hobby. And we're going to do that. We're going to do that hot topic.
We're gonna do that one, and I know I haven't talked to you about it yet either. But there's another particular series of cards that came out during a time that we really need to talk about that people have slept on. We've talked about it a little bit, but I think we need to do a deep dive on it. And I really do think that the TriStar releases for TNA stuff is grossly overlooked. There are some incredible cards
They're
that
aging
came
well.
out during that run.
They're definitely aging well. I remember at the time
Yep.
they weren't terribly expensive, and I was snagging a lot of them for not a lot of money. And I look at them today when I'm taking pictures to throw up on Instagram or what have you, and I'm saying, you know what, there was a lot of good shit in here,
Yep.
and a lot of names, a lot of
Yeah.
names,
And it's nice because Fleer kind of set the standard for that at that time. So yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you. That's to me the greatest era of design, not so much marketability, obviously, but design with them and collectability with the product that really started to kick in the wrestling collecting era.
Exactly. Now, Chuck, you're a big Fleer guy, obviously, as well. You've got a lot of it, like Tony had, like I have. Um, let's talk about our favorite sets of the year, and I'll go first because we've just had the conversation about top. So obviously, for me, my favorite sort of wide release mainstream set of the year is nothing that came from Topps. And unfortunately, unless you're looking at Panini's Fight Combat or you're looking at Leaf, and we're leaving India out of the equation, the only other option is the AEW. And I'll say this, and a lot of this came when I sat with Carlos, and he sort of filled in a lot of the holes for me. But that Skybox Metal Universe is my set of the year, is my mainstream set of the year. I really liked the design of it. I really like the insert sets on that. For me, like when you have decent inserts, that's a big deal. Um, a lot of people say, oh, it's, Upper Deck just copies this, copies that. It's like, you know what? It works. There was nothing wrong with that set at all. I just wish that we would have given it more attention because we didn't know what was coming out, you know.
Yeah.
But that's sort of my mainstream set of the year. What do you guys say on that?
My mainstream set of the year, believe it or not, and uh, I really had a hard time picking one this year because there really wasn't just much that impressed me at all. I have seen all of them basically because they were funneled through me to you, so I was able to look at everything. I actually like the first Topps Chrome release of the year. it turns out they ended up putting out like 3 or 4 Topps Chrome set this year. When I was going through the sets, they had a Topps Chrome, they had a Topps Chrome
Sapphire.
Cactus Jack, they had a Topps Chrome Sapphire. That everything was Topps Chrome. The very first one they put out, because it was a lot more colorful, a lot more. I don't know,
It was the best of them all.
just it was a brighter set, and the insert sets in it kind of blew me away. I'm basing my call on that set because of the insert sets. 2 insert sets in particular was The Time Is Now, which was a John Cena insert because this was his final year, and that was a pretty decent looking set. And the other insert set I liked from that was called Family. What was it? Family Tree.
Yeah.
Family
And
tree.
it had just like 2 wrestlers from the same family on each card. And I found that interesting because I've watched wrestling for over 40 years, and I've seen generation after generation of stars come into the mix, and seeing that set of the generational people in those cards, that kind of impressed me. So the first Topps Chrome set of the year is what I'm picking as my top wide release for the year.
Well, you better say the same thing, Tony, because you bought enough of it.
Yeah, it's pretty much where I'm at. But it's weird how that release, when it came out, and we start seeing preview images of it, and I was not impressed with the design of the base set type of cards, and I was like more gravitating towards the insert stuff.
Yeah.
And too, I like the license plate ones. It's kind of cool, you know. The Time Is Now one is cool. The gears, was pretty cool. The family ties is also cool. So, but as the release sort of lingered more and more, I've switched. I like the base set more than I like the insert cards now. I like the variety. It's a little bit, it's Chrome, so Chrome is Chrome. I don't know. It's kind of like picking the best of my least favorite stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm not overly impressed with anything from any major company this year.
Well, yeah, your point is valid. Compared to Finest or compared to Cactus Jack, there's no question that the first.
But you know what? I'm not one of those guys who goes, "Ooh, Cactus Jack is ugly." There's like I'm a Loomis collector.
They were horrible.
As a Loomis collector, I love the pictures that were used for Loomis throughout all the sets so far. So I liked all of them.
Like I said,
I just thought the Cactus Jack Chrome and the Topps Finest looked so similar with the background on the base cards that it was easy to confuse the two. If you didn't flip it over and look at the back, see Cactus Jack on the back. I mean,
it does look to me like
almost identical. I mean,
it looks to me like the Topps design team really cranked these out in succession real quick. Like it's almost like they did it all in the same weekend, And it's just they had an idea for this one particular set, and then had to do the next ones. Like, well, that idea worked over here. Just change a couple of color schemes and put it over here. It's like it looks all very too similar. I was not happy to have these separate releases that could have been just incorporated in the same original Topps Chrome. There was no need to have a Sapphire release when that Sapphire could have just been an extension of Topps Chrome in the same release instead of a complete separate thing. It's just it was confusing to not only new collectors. I think it became confusing to even longtime collectors. Like, is this Chrome or is this Sap?
Exactly.
And if it wasn't for the Slam app that I'm way more into than actually buying physical product right now, in which all that stuff's available. Cactus Jack is not available in Slam, but Finest is, Sapphire is, Chrome is. It's all available in the app, and I get it for free. You don't have to even pay anything. I get it all for free.
Well, let me touch on two things you just said, Tony. First of all, you talked about the Topps designers and color schemes. There was no color schemes. If you look at the Cactus Jack,
no, as a matter of fact, it's lacking color.
It's lacking color. It's not bright. It's not exciting. It's not pleasing to the eye. And I'll make this second point. Anyone that went out and spent any money at all on the Cactus Jack WrestleMania got fucked, because that same set came out as a hobby set a few months later, and there's no difference. Like, I'm a guy that from the beginning have said, yeah, you can take a card and you can figure out a billion ways to make a parallel, but I just want the card. That to me, when you talk about white sparkle and zebras and lions and all the shit that they do to make a card look interesting, that's not a function of design. That's a function of them trying to fucking squeeze as much juice out of the lemon as they can and figure out, okay, how do we make 25 Dexter Loomis cards so Vela has to go out and pull his hair out and figure out how to get them all. And then, there's a guy on Instagram that follows me, and I think it was Zelina Vega. And He was showing a bunch of Zelina cards, and you really had to squint and look to see what the difference was were from one parallel to the next. And they were
Yeah.
so slight, guys, seeing one card to the next, but they were different, but just.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm glad to have one of these cards. I don't need it to be pink, yellow, green, blue. I don't need it to be Mylar. I don't need it to be reflecting back in my face. I don't, that's all just a money grab to me, for collectors to spend more dough. And God bless them, Heritage started that in 2006 with X-Fractor, Refractor, all that stuff. But it's gotten way out of control. And that's how they do it. That's how they perpetuate the hobby now is they come up with a design and then they come about with 20 different parallel versions of which you only need 3 or 4, to make a difference. Anyways, that's my rant on that. But yeah, I wasn't impressed with Topps, so I'm optimistic that they got nowhere to go but up in 2026. And I can't remember the names, Elegance and some of these fancy brands that we haven't seen yet. Let's just hope that
Oh, we got what, Dynasty, Royalty, Universal,
Royalty,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, we got a lot of fancy names for high price stuff.
yeah. Well, let's get to the fun stuff, guys. Let's talk about the indie sets of the year because there was a lot of those. Um, Chuck, you go first because I know you follow it very closely. What was your indie set of the year?
There was so much indie out this year that it was just almost overwhelming trying to pick just one. But I, I got to give props to one particular set, which has been a recurring set since 2022, and that's Kevin Gus Rising Stars. That set is amazing. Kevin does amazing work.
Absolutely.
The people he puts into that set, it's never 6 months after one of his sets come out that 3 or 4 people in that set doesn't blow up into a major star. He's got his finger on the pulse of who's popular, and his artwork is amazing. And I got to go with Kevin Gus Rising Stars. I mean, like I said, he's put out a set every year since 2022, and I just recently got his most 2025 set, which will be in your package coming your way.
Nice.
It's just amazing stuff. So I have to go with that.
I believe, Tony, that I picked your Phoenix set last year as my favorite indie set of the year because I think in recent memory, your Phoenix Championship Wrestling and Pete's Atomic set had some of the best designs I've ever seen of cards, period. Never mind just for indie. Um, and I think that you hit the ball out of the park again this year with that stuff. I'm going to pick something different, not just to repeat that Tony's Phoenix set was my favorite of the year. I'm going to pick one, not necessarily for the look of it, but what it was, and that's the Maple Leaf Pro set. And the reason for me is that it has nostalgic because Maple Leaf Wrestling when I was a kid was wrestling up here. The name Jack Tunney, a lot of people would know, but the Tunneys were the promoters up here in Toronto for many, many years back in the 70s. And they used to have Maple Leaf Wrestling, which when I was little on CHCH, some people out there are going to know what I'm talking about. Um, we, uh, we got wrestling courtesy of Frank Tunney. And this new version of Maple Leaf Pro is run by Scott Demore. And what I liked about it, first of all, my buddy Pat Ryan out in Windsor is affiliated with them, so he kind of does what you do, Tony, but on a much smaller scale. And he's been responsible for getting those sets to market. But a lot of Canadian talent in that set, which was nice to see. I think they went out of their way for that set to highlight some of the Canadian guys, which was good. And for me, it was just fun to see a set like that, a true Canadian promotion. I'm trying to get the Greektown guys to do a set. I've been doing so for like years, and there's issues with the photography, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what I picked, the Maple Leaf Pro. And if you guys aren't sure which one that is, go on to WTC or on Price Guide and just have a look at it. That was what I would pick as my favorite indie set of the year.
Nice.
Tony?
I not as in tune as I used to be with this stuff. So I've been so busy with other things, but you guys keep me up to date with a lot of good stuff in the Brotherhood group as well.
Sure.
I can't pick one. I just can't. I love Pete Lynch's stuff. It's such beautifully designed stuff. It's so hard to do a design that has a full bleed on it, and make that look nice. And he's been able to do his sets so beautifully with just, we talked earlier about things that pop out, like having colors that pop out.
Yeah.
That stuff pops out. Like I would love to see those printed on metal cards because the shine would just look so good.
Yeah.
So I love his set for that. equally saying, I'm in agreement with Chuck. I love Kevin Gush stuff. Just it always seems to he hits a home run with that stuff all the time. Now they're confusing in a little bit because of the different parallels he offers and things like that, and how you get things like. But that's what the checklist is for, and to help collectors figure that stuff out. But he's always just such a talented guy with all that stuff he puts out there. I'm also a fan of the Waxateria stuff. I like
Yep.
their stuff. I like that
Absolutely.
the two Joes pick their areas like that, and they do everything in a very professional manner with how they get everything done between the talent, the photographer, the promotions, things like that, and just doing an annual release that
We've
sort
done
of.
4 now. It's hard enough to do one. They've put out
I
4,
know,
and everyone's
I
been great.
know. And I will always remember from when I'm over in the UK at the time, and I'm getting a phone call on Facebook phone, call from the Joes asking me for some advice and help, and they're thinking about putting out their first set.
Yeah,
And to see what they've done from there to where
there
they're
to
at
now.
now, it's really impressive. And it's happy to see that there's a demand for that people are enjoying that kind of stuff. And I love seeing that. So those are my 3 guys that I really kind of go to that I like a lot. There's so much other independent stuff out there. I'm happy to continue to keep doing the Phoenix Championship Wrestling. Series 2 will be kicking off next month. I'm putting together what I have left of Series 1. So those who've been waiting to figure out what they want from Series 1, those will be available. But there's so much good stuff out there. My
And
issue with
one
the
thing I
indies,
can say about that Waxateria set is they pull in wrestlers from all over the world on that set. And they have actually introduced me to some stars that I had no clue about, that I have gone online and I've researched. I've watched videos online of them. So I've gained a whole new following of people that I didn't even know about before, thanks to these guys. I would never have known about these wrestlers unless it had been for those guys pulling up stuff from just all around the world.
and I think that's what
I love about it.
I think they take pride in that. That's kind of what they really like to do. They like showcasing and showing you people that have never been featured on a card before, you maybe never heard of. And that's what's great about the indie scene, is you learn about new people that you're like, I like that. I like the look of that person. I'm going to go
Yep.
check them out. It's like that. Or I've heard good things about this person, so I'm going to go check them out. And now all of a sudden they're getting new fans.
Well,
Exactly what I've been doing.
before we get off indie, I should just mention about the seated Centon who we lost this year. The gentleman that put out those sets, he passed away in
Yep.
2025. And I know, Chuck, you were big on Pro Wrestling Junkie, similar kind of
Yes.
design of a lot of custom autographs and things. But he put out some good stuff over these last few years. And
Yes, he has.
that comes to an end this year. But anyways, yeah, guys, if you're into wrestling and you're into trading cards, check out indies. You don't have to spend the top prices. It's not like bait.
Nope.
You can buy a set and still afford to go out to dinner. And
Well, I mean, while you're right, but while it is much more affordable than any of the mainstream releases like that, there has been this rising cost lately. We've talked
Sure.
about this before. This rising cost of indie sets. Where some people are
They've gone
charging $40 for 15, 20 cards like that. It seems a little on the higher side. I mean, shit, Paul, you and I put out 2 releases now where we were $40 for 50 cards.
Mhm.
You're looking
I
at
was
less
worried
than
we were
a
charging too much.
Huh?
I
Yeah,
thought that should we be $10 less than this? And you convinced
yeah,
me, no, there's value here. And in hindsight, yes, that worked out because we sold them all and we put the money in our pocket. So, but at the end of
yeah.
the day, yeah, you're right. But it's still, indie is a section of our hobby that's growing. Of course, we're affiliated with the Brotherhood, where we have the top guys in that world.
Yep.
But there's great stuff there, and we always maintain that you never know who the next big thing is. Like all of a sudden, Joe Henry just took off, and his stuff in the indie world. Now all of a sudden, you got his base card going for like $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that can happen. Fun stuff
Yeah.
like that can happen.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all right, fellas, let's talk about this. Is my favorite part of the show is where we talk about in review who was your favorite wrestlers, and we'll do male wrestlers and female wrestlers separately. And we've done this every year since we've started. And this is just a personal thing of what Paul likes, what Chuck likes, what Tony likes. But Chuck, why don't you go? Who are your top wrestlers of the year?
Well, um, I can't get away from last year. I have to go with Gunther. Gunther has been a favorite of mine from the minute he showed up in the WWE. I mean, I remembered him as Walter back in the day, and when he came in as Gunther. I just think he's done marvelous. A lot of people don't like him. They say he don't have the mic skills, he don't have the charisma. But you know what? The man's got the star power, and he's got the look of a professional wrestler. They've entrusted him in retiring Goldberg. They've entrusted him in retiring John Cena. Rumor has it he's going to be the one to retire Brock Lesnar. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but the man has star power. He's got the it factor for me. I really like him.
And how
He's
about
got a
with
very old school. I like because he has a very old
Yeah, me
school
too.
feel to him. He's
Yeah.
that Bruiser. He's that old Murdoch type, type of
Mhm.
Yeah,
just a stiff
yeah,
old school. And you know what? And his character resonates that because he talks about bringing the old school, like the professionalism of pro wrestling like that, not gimmicky stuff, not some catchphrasey kind of guy. I go out there, I get the job done, boom. It's very old school, and I like that about him.
What about with the ladies, Chuck?
Wow, I had this down to two, and I've been juggling over who I'm going to pick over the other one. Are we still doing our favorites and our runner-ups?
Yeah, do a runner-up. I've got runner-up for mine.
Okay, then my favorite and my runner-up, and you can put these in either order that you want, but my favorite right now, I think, has to be Stephanie Vakir. And my runner-up has to be Io Sky. The two of those put on one of the most amazing classic matches that I saw this year. The two of them together are just magic. Io does that high flying stuff. Stephanie just has the in-ring ability. I know she's struggling a little bit with her promos now, but she's learning to speak English a lot better, and I think that's going to improve in time. Io has the background, and she's been around for a few years, so she's kind of got it down. But those are the two girls that I just, whenever they're on TV, I just got to stop and watch. And quite frankly, Stephanie, I had never even heard of until Pete Lynch mentioned her to me. I opened the mail one day, and there's one of her trading cards in the mail that he sent me. Thank you, Pete, by the way. That got me hooked. I thought, wow, I've heard the name, but I didn't really know much about her. And I started looking for her. And then next thing I know, she's on the main roster in WWE. And when she pulls out that widow's kiss, or what's it called? The kiss that she does. That it's just a nasty, nasty move. And I mean, I'm sure it doesn't hurt him, but it looks good, And those are the two that I like.
Now,
You
you remember the other day, Chuck, you said that when we were texting back and forth that it's not likely that we're going to have any of the same picks this year.
right?
Wrong.
Mhm.
Oh,
For me, identical. I'll start with the guys. I mean, this was the year of Cena. I've never been a big Cena fan, so I appreciate the work and the time and the effort put in. If I had to pick a runner-up for the guys, Dominic Mysterio can do nothing wrong in my book.
that was my runner-up too.
Yeah, he's the future of wrestling alongside Braun Breaker and my number one choice, who is Gunter. Nobody touches Gunter. Nobody. If you're going to talk about who's going to win the Royal Rumble, if it's not Braun Breaker, it's going to be Gunter. And you made a good point. They chose him to retire Cena, and Cena retired with a smile on his face, doing the job to him. So identical on that. I picked Gunter as my number one. And for the females, I'll tell you, my runner-up. I like Stephanie too, but my runner-up was not so much for her wrestling skills, but because of her personality and her entertainment value was Harley Cameron from AEW. When she came on and did that ventriloquist stuff, and then she grabbed the guitar and started getting in your face and singing those songs, I'm like, I like this kind of stuff. This girl knows how to get a reaction out of me. Um, and when it came down to number one, for the first 7, 8 months of the year, nobody touched Io Sky insofar as ability on the female side. Now, from what I understand, there are wrestlers in Japan, female wrestlers in Japan that are just killing it. So we need Rich Veligan on here to educate us on who the real stars are, because I've heard some names, but unless you see them on a weekly basis, you don't know them. But yeah, Chuck, that's 2 years in a row. Gunter and Io Sky for me too. I'll tell you who is not my favorite guy of the year by a wide stretch, and I still scratch my head for this whole thing, and that's Jey Uso. No disrespect to him, but I'm glad to see him back in the tag team with his brother. I mean, the man was an entrance. That was it. It was like when they gave Kofi Kingston the title. And then they put the title on Jey Uso, and it's like, hang on, you're trying to put Jey Uso into a ring with Gunther and have me believe that this guy's got a chance, and then Gunther jobbed to Jey Uso, which I thought this is so insane. Like you say, Tony, he's an old ox baker, an old
Yep.
school guy that just can't be beat. My favorite wrestler of all time outside of Flair and Hogan is a dude named Harley Race, and the early Harley Race, because he was a brawler. He was
Hmm.
just a rough and tumble guy that would kick the fuck out of you. And you just got that sense, what I mean, when you saw him.
Yep.
And I get that sense from Gunther. And when he slimmed down a couple years ago, I thought he looked even more menacing than when he was bigger as Walter.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chuck, that's 2 years in a row where funny enough, our picks are exactly the same.
Well, the reason I picked Dominic this year is I really hated that I had to pick him because I really despised him in the beginning. And then I realized the reason I despised him so much is because he was doing such a good job with his character. And I thought, dummy, Chuck, that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to get you fired up and supposed to get you mad, to get his heat. And I thought, then it dawned on me, that guy's good. Nobody could generate that much heat in that little bit of time. Plus, this year he won the Intercontinental title. He won the AAA championship in Mexico. I mean, the man's pulled in 2 major titles this year. He's gotten heat. He's been on TV every week. I mean, he's not lost that fire, and he's getting a lot better in the ring. I didn't think he was that great in the ring in the beginning, but he's really improved there. But just the fact that he's doing his job and getting me so mad that made me like him.
He's obviously prepped
like
for the
someone because
business.
they make me mad. That just doesn't make sense to
Ray
me.
obviously trained him right, but got his head right, how to behave in the business. And what I understand is that he's very respectful to everybody behind the scenes, and he's just such a well-liked guy for a guy that comes off as so trying to piss you off. But, alongside Gunther, alongside Braun Breaker, he's the future. It won't be long before Dominic Mysterio is champion of the world several times over.
Yeah, I think we're going to be talking about Braun this time next year. I really do.
Absolutely.
I
Now, Tony, what about Dexter Loomis and your Wyatt Sixes? Is that your choice or?
No, not by a long shot. You're still talking to a guy. I've only seen Loomis wrestle maybe twice now in my entire life, and that's in a tag match format.
I think that's all he's ever done.
Pretty much it, But I don't have to be. You don't have to have a favorite person, and for the reason that you collect them.
No.
I just randomly selected someone, and I'm having fun doing that.
Yeah, because you look like a psycho. You're like, I like to look at this guy.
Yeah, well, at first it was like, looks like a Nazi, but that's besides the point. But now, now he's like a psycho. So, but I'm happy just collecting him like that. Wrestler of the year for me, it's going to be a 3-way for us guys because it's got to be Gunther all the way for me. It just has to be for all the same reasons you guys mentioned. But the old school mentality just brings me back to that 70s, 80s style type wrestling like that with Big Dick Murdoch, Stan Hansen type style, where it's just it's stiff as hell, and bringing back the what do you call it, bringing back respect back to the sport itself kind of thing. No flash, no gimmicks. Just I come in here, I beat your ass, and I go home.
And he looks like a guy that can beat your ass.
Yeah, for real.
You don't have to
absolutely
suspend, reality or disbelief when you see Gunther. It's completely believable. And he did hold the title throughout the year, and then he went away for a bit, and he came back, and he just retired Cena. And I think he's going to win the Royal Rumble if Braun doesn't. It's Gunther's world, and we're just in it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and so for all those reasons, but for a runner-up, I didn't want to be a Dominic Mysterio fan because I don't think he's that great in the ring. Still, I don't think he's that great in the ring. I think that his timing is off on a bunch of stuff, but I think it's his charisma and his ability to create that heat that just covers up those inabilities in the rings like that. I think over time he'll get better. Granted, who the hell am I to say? I can't do half the damn. I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff he does in the ring. So, but it doesn't look and flow with me. His ring style doesn't flow with me. But just from storyline perspectives, as a character-driven type stuff, it's really hard to overlook him. It's just he just gets instant. He continues to keep that character even in interviews that are outside of the wrestling ring. Being on somebody's podcast or being interviewed somewhere, he's still like, yeah, it's Father's Day and I really do miss my dad. It's like that. Rest in peace, Dad. Kind of, the whole. It's just that it's comical to me. And I love that. I love that whole thing. But
Very cool,
Gunther
Chuck.
by a landslide. It's Gunther by that. So everybody else is fighting for second for me for the most
So,
part. But
so all three of us agree, and Chuck and I, once again this year, 1 and 2 on the men and on the women.
yeah.
Great minds think alike, Chuck. That's why when
So
you said,
Right.
"Oh, we're not going to have the same choices this year," and I said, "Don't be surprised,"
yeah.
because we have the same tastes. We're around the same age, and we have enjoyed the hobby and wrestling together. So, what you would find interesting, I would find interesting. Tony would find
Absolutely.
interesting. So, yeah,
So for me on the women's side is without a doubt it's going to be Io Sky for me.
yeah, she's
100% Io Sky. Entertaining as hell. Um, Utilizing the language barriers to her advantage where it needs to be done. The in-ring skill, she has a certain aura about her when she's in the ring and outside the ring where you want to love her. She's so cute and adorable, but she can also be vicious and dangerous, and she's just
And the
does a lot
movement,
of
just
great
her
stuff
movesets
out
are
there.
just blow your mind. Some of the off the top stuff, some of the
Absolutely.
tumbles, some of the twists and stuff. It's like,
And
wow.
and she mixes in with grappler style type people and high flyers that she just has this ability to adapt to anything and everything that's going on in the ring. And I love her to death. I actually one for me, and then I'm going to start predicting for 2026. I'm going to say right now, and I hope to see in 2026 when we do our annual. For me, 2026 is going to be all about Sol Ruka. I think that she's going to be something that's going to be
Yeah.
very. I thought Saturday Night's main event did a great job in showcasing Obafemi and showcasing Sol Rukas like that. Obafemi to me is what Ahmed Johnson's done right.
But he's not so
Um,
stiff.
yeah, I mean he is stiff too, but he's just a
But
big
good.
powerhouse guy, and they're treating him the way they should have taken care of Ahmed Johnson. But Ahmed Johnson had a bunch of personal stuff, I guess. But and then Sol Ruka is just super talented with all her gymnastic abilities like them, and turning it into some wrestling ability. I think she's going to be something to be played to be looked at in 2026.
In my opinion, she stole the Saturday night main event that John Cena retired on.
Yep.
Her and the guy that was right before her that was called up. What's his name? The big guy from
Obafemi.
NXT.
Obafemi.
Obafemi.
Yeah.
I think the two of those are probably, if they continue without being hurt this year or injured this year, between Oba and Sol, I think they are the future of WWE right now.
They're going to be. They're my early picks for my picks of 2026 for me. Just
Me
so
too.
you know,
Me too.
but for me, there is no runner up for me in the women's category. Everybody else is really fighting for. But it's Io Sky up in the sky, and everybody else is sitting on the ground.
Let me pick up on two things you said, Tony. First of all, you talked about Io Sky and how she dealt with the language barrier. I also enjoyed Asuka and Kairi Sane. That
Oh,
whole
me too.
Asuka, when she gets pissed off, she yells, and you can't understand what she says, but you don't care because
Oh,
she's
but that was
captivating.
the best promo though. That was one of my favorite promos of 2024. I think it was, where it was Asuka and Io, and they were going back and forth like that.
The Japanese.
And then at the end, Io goes.
And my thing about Sol Ruka, and she's fantastic, is that I find that they need to do a little more to distinguish Sol Ruka from Maxine Dupree because they look identical. I watched the match the other day where it was Maxine Dupree, and I thought it was Sol Ruka till the very end, right? They have the long curly blonde hair. They're about the same height. They're about the same build, and they wrestle the same style. Saul seems to be a little more acrobatic, gymnastic, the Maxine, but those two characters are very similar, and it's important to me. It's hard, but to try and distinguish, like you say, Chuck Obafemi. You're not going to miss that guy in a room because there's no one else that looks like that. You're not going to mistake Gunther from anybody else in this world. But sometimes with the female wrestlers, you get a hot-looking a blonde girl that can go, and that's it. But in my mind, you need to have more, and that's what I liked about Io Sky. Really enjoyed Sol Ruka, like you say, but
it's my early pick because I think there's a lot of development for her that's going to be. They're gonna stick a rocket ship her butt, and she's going to be going up, I think. And it's going to be fun to watch. And I think if they do it right with her, and I think her progression has been really good in the NXT brand, and then picking her to showcase her on a Saturday night's main event was a big gamble for anybody, and I think she delivered.
I think Cena had a say in that. He said that he'd like to have those NXT
yes
performers featured on his final night. and it was a selfless act, and it really helped. Like a lot of people didn't know Obafemi, now they do. A lot of people didn't know Saul Ruka, and even the two young black guys, Javon and the guy from the UK. That was my favorite match of the night, against AJ and Dragon Lee. Those guys are fantastic. So, the future for wrestling is real bright. There's so much talent. Chuck, you mentioned Stephanie Vaquer. She might be the best of all of them. She might be the best women wrestler in the world today. So I don't doubt that she might be in the conversation for me next year. It's just that EO did such a wonderful job, and she held the title for
Well,
the
it was so hard for me to pick her over EO.
Yeah.
I didn't know which way to go, because to me they were both on equal ground. One's almost, even though Steph's been around for a while, I still consider her kind of rookie. EO's been around for a while, so I consider her like one of the veterans of the sport. But yet they're so equal on so many terms. I couldn't pick one over the other. That's why I said, here's my number one and or number two, because
we
they're
lined up,
interchangeable.
the three of us lined up exactly, pretty much. So,
And I also kind of, while I have my own personal favorites like that, having the storefront has given me the ability to see what the fan base as a general is interested in.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for men getting like men's t-shirts. T-shirts are the number one thing that drives me crazy in trying to figure out what to order and what not to order. And for men's, it's so much easier. Women's is difficult. Now, on the women's side, for merchandising wise, nothing sells better than Rhea. Nothing sells better than Rhea. But EO is becoming a close second. But then seeing people coming in here like just after Saturday's main event, do you have any Sol Ruka stuff? Like, does she have this and that? And on the figure front, Obafemi has been the new 121 series of elites that didn't move. Now I'm selling them because he was featured on Saturday's main event. People are interested in it. So the marketing that they do is really working, and it brings interest in the kids who maybe didn't watch NXT and now like, oh, the main roster, Obafemi guy is amazing. I got to get this guy. Oh, Gunther didn't sell for Jack for a long time, and now he's back and doing this stuff, and now he's selling again.
Yeah. All right, guys, we'll talk quickly about what we have in store for 2026, and then we'll call it a day and let everyone go off and
we'll call it a year.
Call it a year, yeah. 2026, Chuck, some changes coming in your world on the collecting side.
Some pretty big changes coming for me. I think 2025 is going to be the end of my set collecting. I think it's history.
You think?
Can't do it no more, can't compete. I'm going to stay in the hobby, obviously. I'm not going to be doing the collecting I did in the past. I think I'm going to stick mostly with the checklisting and the archiving, and maybe get back into the swing of things and flood Tony's inbox again now that he's made his move. I didn't want to overwhelm him while he was making the move.
Now that I'm officially in and moved in like that, I've got 2 employees now. As long as I can try and make the wife not find a bunch more honeydew list stuff to do, I should have the time to do that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
That's my way, because I just have to stop collecting. I just can't afford it anymore. It's as much as I hate it, I can't afford it. And now I'm not going to stop completely. Occasionally there's going to be some things I like that I'm going to pick up. I'm definitely picking up anything that comes out of your store, Tony.
Yay!
And I'm going to be picking up any Pro Wrestling Junkie stuff. Those are my 2 main focuses. Everything else is just going to be if it strikes my fancy, and if I have the extra funds, then maybe.
But see, now Chuck, now here we are. You're essentially, what you're saying is you're going to be kind of morphing into what I changed into in the mid 2000s, where I sort of I just couldn't do it anymore of collecting, because I was a true master set collector, and knowing that I couldn't do that anymore, it was like, why bother? But I still kept my feet in the hobby by having guys like Paul, having guys like Neubauer, having guys like Pete, having guys like everybody else, the Gelmans, always just flooding information stuff out there that I can just go ahead and retain and then put on the website. It's to me, that's still the hobby. I'm still part of the hobby. I don't have to physically put out the dollars and cents to go out there and be part of the hobby. And I'm still having fun with it.
You're still buying product for the store, whether you're buying it for your personal collection, you're buying it
even before the store. Even before the store, I wasn't doing that stuff, but still I was buying. I feel guilty because I didn't buy the last Wax Interior set. I haven't bought Pete's new set. I haven't bought Kevin Gus' new set. I've just lost track of time for that. And I'm looking forward to getting back into that thing and getting into carrying that stuff if I need to, and buying some of that stuff. It's like you, Chuck, I'll pick and choose what I want to get, when I want to get it.
That's my strategy for next year, one set at a time. Obviously, with Chuck sort of slowing down, I'll probably be collecting a lot less of the indie stuff because quite often he'll buy a set and I'll take one as well because he's got to get it for himself. And I'm not going off on my own and buying indie stuff. It's all coming through Chuck. And insofar as the mainstream stuff, it all depends. All depends on the cost and the configuration and how much of it I can buy in one go. But I'm not putting together sets 100 cards at a time. If I can't get most of the set in one go, then I'm going to pass. It's fine. I've got enough up there now that I don't have to feel that I owe the hobby anything insofar as collecting sets.
Yeah.
So that's it, guys. Let me give our audience a bit of advice as well, a little bit of friendly movie advice. We watched the movie with DiCaprio last night, One Battle After Another. Watch it. It was Sean Penn's finest hour. I've never seen him so great. He absolutely stole that movie. So take it from Ebert over here. One Battle at a Time with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's a P.T. Anderson movie, and the music's done by Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. I'm a massive Radiohead fan. But definitely over the holidays, check that out on Netflix if you haven't done so.
Oh, didn't know we're movie reviews now. Awesome.
Well, that just came into my head. A little bit of friendly, free advice that
There you go.
if you like Sean Penn, I've never seen him as entertaining as I did in this picture last night.
Hey, Chuck, are you enjoying your Christmas gift?
And I got my best Christmas gift I'm going to receive this year, courtesy of the Wrestling Guys store and Tony. I finally completed my Wrestling Guys store metal autograph set by receiving a Joe Hendry autograph metal card from Tony. Thank you so much.
I finally found a customer. Huh?
I
Did you say his
sent a
name before you
text,
opened the
and
thing?
after I sent that text, I thought, no, a text is just not going to do it. I have to thank him in person. So I picked up the phone and called him. That meant so much to me that you took the time to track that down.
Because I know you were telling me that you were checking eBay all the time, and I too was checking eBay, and no one is selling those cards.
No.
And so customers who come to the store, they were asking like, oh, we mentioned, oh, we had Joe Hendry. Oh yeah, I was there. I waited in line. I say, did you get a VIP? Yeah. It's like, did you get a metal card? Yeah. You want to sell it? No. And I finally found someone who was willing to part with it.
Yeah.
Well, I thank that person for me, and I thank you. It just, that kind of lit my day when I opened that package and not expecting that. I ordered some stuff from you, and all that stuff was there. And there was another little thing that had Merry Christmas written on it. And I peeked under it, and there was Joe. And I didn't even have to say his name. He just appeared. It was great. So thank you very much for that. That was amazing. I do want to give a big shout out to everybody in the hobby who's been in touch with me this year and personally reached out to me and talked to me, and the people who comment on my posts, and especially all the guys in the Brotherhood. You guys are like family to me. And I want to wish everybody a nice holiday season, a good Christmas, a happy new year. And I'm sure we'll be seeing each other in the new year because, like I said, I'm not going away. I'm just kind of stopping my collecting, and but I'll still be around and here to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, same for me. And particularly, I'd like to thank you two guys. Tony for the the fun we have at the National, for all the shows that we do, for all the shit that we've done. One day you called me and you said, you know what? Do you want to be a part of WTC? I'm like, I'm price guy. Why would you want me to be? And then you did that, and look at what it's led to. And Chuck, I could thank you from here until eternity for everything you've done for me on both ends, on the checklisting side, but on the collecting side. I wouldn't have any of this stuff. Nothing new. I'd have tapped out ages ago if we didn't have our current setup for me to get product through you. I should also thank Ryan Bannister from RBC Crew. He was a great help to me a lot this year. I bought a lot of product from Ryan this year. And if he wasn't out there buying the cases and cases and cases of stuff that he was getting, I probably wouldn't have bothered with some of these sets. So, to everybody out there, and you guys in particular, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Looking forward to seeing you guys again in 2026. Tony, we're going to have some stuff to get cooking on right away in January. So, no rest for the wicked, they say.
Yeah, that's right. And same, man. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays. Thank you for everybody who's support our channel, who support our websites, who old time guys who've been in the hobby for a long time and continue to keep supporting us. The Armands, and I think even Kenny Oz is still out there. There's a name, pulling a name out of the hat right there. Has been around for a while. And all the guys out there who've supported everything we've done, and we do it all for the love of the hobby. We've
We do
always
get a
said
lot of
that.
love
It's
out there, and just so people know, we do appreciate it. We really do.
Yeah,
Like we do this for fun, and we do it to hang out with each other, but we really do appreciate the guys in the brotherhood, like you say. And some guys in particular are really nice to us. They've
yeah,
been really congratulating us and thanking us for the time and effort that we put into this. And
yep,
just so you guys know, it's our pleasure. We're happy to do it, and we'll continue to do it so long as God willing. There's a hobby and there's a Zoom.
yeah.
We'll just press on.
Yeah. And so, with that, I just hope everybody has a great holiday.
Yep.
2026 is going to bring, who the hell knows? Every time, every year, we're like, man, this year was amazing with all this stuff and big news like that. And the next year goes, yeah, what? Hold my beer. And,
Exactly.
something else crazy happens. So, I look forward to it. I look forward to getting back into the Chuck listing again. When I get into it, and as you guys both know, Chuck knows, Paul, when I'm focused and in it, like it gets done and updated like nobody's business. It gets done because I dig in deep,
Yeah.
and I find errors in both what I put out, what other people have put out there, it's like that. And we get that, like, holy shit, we didn't know that existed, or holy shit, we didn't know that said that. And we put together and we try to be as complete as possible. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But are we trying to be very as complete as possible? Absolutely. And we just hope that it educates people. People learn for themselves, for things that what they have, what they're looking for. And, we love the hobby, man. We love the hobby. Always have.
That's it, I guess.
That's it, man.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. Chuck, Tony, thank
Merry
you.
Christmas. Same to
Merry
you
Christmas,
guys.
guys. And just so you also love both you guys, man. I wouldn't be doing what I do, and I wouldn't even want to continue to even bring the WTC back in 2020 we did it, something like that, 2021. It wouldn't even be a thing without just having that random, YouTube video with Portos like that, and
Yeah.
then you guys reaching out and saying like, so is this a thing? Are we doing some stuff now? What's going on like that? Like, I guess we are. So, and I love you guys for helping out all the time for
Yeah.
everything you guys have done for
Three
the hobby.
three amigos to the end, right?
To the end, man.
Here, amigos.
All right,
a
everybody.
fucking
Merry
tripod.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, man.